We will call this Assembly Committee on Education committee meeting to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Duran. Here. Assemblyman Flores. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblywoman Hanson. Here. Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblywoman Krasner. Assemblywoman Marzola. Here. Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblywoman Miller. Here. Assemblywoman Nguyen. Here. Assemblywoman Tolles. Assemblywoman Torres. Here. Chair Bilbray Axelrod.
Thank you. And Assemblywoman Krasner was walking in as you were calling her name, so I'm not sure if you saw her. We do have a quorum, and please mark the other members present as they enter. We had a long floor, late and long floor. So I know we have a couple senators in the room. And I apologize, Senator, if I'm going to have you guys hold back for a minute. We just have a quick presentation. I'm skipping the housekeeping rules. I think you guys know it by now, right? Okay, so today I'm very excited as we have a presentation from one of our seniors at Carson High School, Christian Garcia Perez. Some of you may recognize him from his recent articles about him on Carson Now and also on Colo 8 News. Mr. Garcia Perez is here today to share his story and experience as he gets ready to head to Dartmouth College, a college with an only 6% acceptance rate in the fall. I'd also like to note that in addition to those supporting by watching online, here in the room with him is his high school counselor, Ms. Gordon Johnson, and Principal Mr. Chambers. And with that, please come forward and tell us your story, because I think it's quite remarkable, and I hope the committee enjoys it as much as I have.
I want to begin by saying thank you to Madam Chair, to the Vice Chair, and to the committee for giving me your time to speak today. So I just want to say thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to present my statement in hopes of improving equity for first-generation students. I myself am a first-generation student, so thank you. So, upon beginning my journey of education, I was born in this country. I was fortunate enough to be born in the United States. I was born in Reno, Nevada. Unfortunately, for many students, this is not an opportunity that they have. Many students are not from here, so they already feel as if they have been excluded from the educational system. Upon growing up, I was actually moved back to Mexico, where I lived for a couple months, up to a year or two, I think. Upon living here, I was able to, cherish the culture, get really strong in my Spanish-speaking skills, and learn what it meant to be a Hispanic. Upon moving back here to the United States, I grew up in a pretty harsh environment. My parents had given away everything so that I could be here. What that meant was that growing up, there was times when my family did not have enough money to buy groceries. There was times when my dad would stress out, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. And upon growing up, I was able to see all of that. So being this student who I knew I wanted to do something more, I wanted to help my family out, I knew in that instant that I had to make a change and I had to help my family out. So I began my journey by first having to learn English. Many times students, when they are first only Spanish speakers or they speak another language, they feel as if they have to throw away their whole culture. They feel as if they are inferior to other students because they don't speak English right away. I believe that being able to speak multiple languages is actually an amazing advantage that students have, and it's something that they should embrace. They should be happy about the culture they have within them. They should be happy about the heritage that has been based around them. So upon elementary school, I was working hard. I knew that I was going to work hard so that I could help my family. This is when I first had the first doses of I'm pretty good at academia. It started off from doing multiplication tables with my teachers to eventually surpassing my teacher and being able to finish those 100, 12 times 12, 12 times 5 faster than her, to actually getting my first ever chocolate bar, because she would give out chocolate bars if anybody was able to beat her, and I was the first to ever do that. So, and then that transcribed to being able to get a perfect score on my CRTs. So upon elementary school, I knew like, wow, I'm actually kind of good at academics. This is what I want to keep pursuing. And that is when I entered middle school and everything went downhill once more. Upon entering middle school, they have their school systems separated from students who are in GATE and students who are just in regular classes. GATE promotes students who are gifted and intelligent. I took the exam 3 times to get into GATE. I got rejected all 3 times. When I was in GATE, when I got rejected from GATE, it felt like I had failed my family. I had felt like, you know, what's the point in me working hard? What's the point in me trying to become someone if I can't even pass this simple exam? Like, how am I supposed to pass medical exams, board exams? How am I supposed to pass like these bigger exams in the future if I can't pass a simple GATE exam? So that right there was like a slap to my face. I felt like, what am I going to do with myself? So that time was a lot of confusion for myself. I was always stuck between, should I keep working hard in school or should I pave another way for myself? So that actually led to me trying new things. I became a YouTuber. I made online videos, tried to make funny videos for the kids. And you know, since I was raised in this apartment with a whole bunch of other Hispanic kids, we would all get together, we'd make funny videos, skits, we'd mess around corn. One of the actual films we made was that we ate KFC in front of a chicken, and then the chicken chased us down because it was trying to get revenge for its friend that we ate. So, and then not only that, but we were like, how about we become rappers? Let's try making music on SoundCloud. Ultimately, we failed in everything, but at the same time, we gained everything because we learned how to market. I actually ended up having around over 1,000 subscribers and was averaging around 28,000 views a month. And as of right now, I think the channel was up to 1 million. So it was really interesting to see what I was able to do. And it wasn't until one of the last weeks of 8th grade when my teacher came up to my desk, Mr. Smith. He gave me a book titled Then There Were None by Agatha Christie and said, here's your summer assignment. At that instant, I was super confused because I'm like, why are you giving me homework? You know, we're about to go into summer. And he's like, oh, no, this is the homework for Honors English 1. And at that instant, I knew, wow, I have a whole nother shot to try this all over again. That book, although it just seemed like an assignment to many, for me, it was hope. It was hope that I was able to start back from the beginning and, you know, set my place, you know, achieve what I've wanted to achieve. So, transitioning onto my high school, my freshman year, I started off with high morale. I was excited. I was ready to accomplish all these great things. But then that question raised again. Where do I begin? What classes do I take? How do I ask for help? So with help of my teachers, because I explained my goals to them, with help by my counselors, because they knew of the position I was in, they were able to guide me into specific programs like the CTE programs. For example, the HOSA program, they knew I was aware that I always wanted to become a doctor, that I always wanted to help people. So they said, have you considered taking the HOSA program? In the HOSA program, as of today, I've been able to actually volunteer at hospitals, work at fire stations, actually engage with physical contact with patients, learn the terminology, and as of probably in 2 weeks, I will be getting my EMT license. So that's very exciting. At times, I was also like, oh, I'm interested in business. How do I do that FBLA program? Help me present, and I was actually able to make my own business, which I called Bully Kings, where we sold dog products, and 10% of the proceeds went to the Humane Society. So all these things I learned through CTE programs. And then from there, I also was able to branch off and try all these new things. I tried football for the first time. I tried track for the first time. I went from being this unathletic kid in middle school who was scared to run the mile because I thought I was going to get such a horrible time, to actually being able to play varsity level sports and being pretty good at them. So that was super cool. And then sophomore year came around just when I thought everything was perfect. It all went back downhill because I got my first B. And I thought, like, in that instant, I'm like, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, like a B, like that's not really that bad. But in my views, like I said again, I'm like, how am I getting a B this early in my age? If, you know, if I want to be a doctor, I have to be perfect. And, you know, I never had parents who were going to tell me, like, oh, it's okay, you know, like, a B is okay, because they don't understand how grades work. My parents, since they went to Mexico and they both never went to college, never went to high school, they both dropped out around the 3rd grade. They've only ever been exposed to the 1 to 10 system, which is 1 is your ranked lowest, 10. So when I'd be like, I got a B, they'd be like, what is that? Or like they would never say, you got to try harder, or they wouldn't say, it's okay. They would just, you know, they felt like they had no voice because they didn't know the position I was in. So when I had that B, I viewed it as like, this is the end. You know, how did I fail? in my way, that was failing. How did I fail Algebra 2, Honors Algebra 2? But then again, I was my own teacher who gave me the B. She was like, it's just a small like setback. Work harder, improve from that, and get stronger as a person, which is exactly what happened to me because I was lucky enough to have that conversation. I was able to get back and eventually pass that class with an A. Now, because of all the guidance I've had by counselors, teachers, and the support I've had by fellow peers, I have now been able to accomplish many great things. I have been able to travel to Las Vegas to give conference speeches, to represent the HOSA program as a leader. I've been able to compete and actually win titles where I've been invited to go to Orlando, Florida to compete at that level for HOSA. For business classes, I was actually one of the finalists for the presentation, and you actually compete for real money, but I ended up having a 1-4 fever, so I had to eliminate myself. But yes, I've learned. And like up till this point, I was not sure where I was going to go in life. It was always between, is college for me? Can I go to college? Can I afford college? And like at times, up until this year, even in the beginning of this year, I still had the debate of, if I go to college, I'm just going to go to WNC or a community college. But most of the time, I wasn't thinking college. I was thinking, I'm going to go work with my dad. I'm going to help my dad because he's a labor worker and his body can only last for so long. So I'm like, I'm going to help him and then see what I can do from there. Maybe get a contractor's license. Maybe work my way up in that specific area. But that's when my counselor, Ms. Gordon, exposed to me Questbridge. Questbridge was this amazing opportunity that many students will never hear about because many students don't get the proper counseling. And it was a program that said, if you write all these essays, if you have these phenomenal grades, you've helped your community, we can enter you in this contest where you compete against all these other students who are also first generation low income students. And if you get selected, they will pay for your whole college. Ultimately, I ended up becoming a finalist for Questbridge, and I ended up winning around $300,000 to attend Dartmouth College. I not only got accepted to Dartmouth, but I got accepted into 3 Ivy League schools. I got into Cornell, the University of Pennsylvania, and Dartmouth. Along from that, I also got into USC, Duke, Carleton, Pepperdine, and many other schools like Vanderbilt, etc. So I was lucky enough to be exposed from the guidance from my counselors, from my teachers. And although I had all those times of giving up because I felt inferior, because I felt like, oh, I'm just another Hispanic student, it's in me to not be able to excel this high, I continued to push myself and grow. I accepted that, yes, I was Hispanic. Yes, I did not start from the best background, but that doesn't mean I should limit myself. And many times I see this within students. Many students in my own neighborhood, they already decide like, oh, I want to join a gang, or, oh, I want to, I'm not set up to be someone big in the future because I'm Hispanics. And they feel that pressure that society tells them like, oh, you're just another Hispanic student. You're not going to grow up to be anything big. But that's really saddening because now that I've actually had the opportunity to go back to my elementary school, go back to Mark Twain, these Title I schools, I've been able to see from first perspective. Usually a question I always start off when I give my speeches to these schools is, how many of you guys are first generation students? Almost everyone raises their hands. I then proceed by saying, how many of your parents are immigrants? Then again, I see the same pattern. Almost everyone raises their hands. The thing is, all these students have the same similar background as me, but not all these students will feel comfortable with talking to their teachers, or many of these students feel like they're limited because of the way they grow up. So throughout my presentation, I exposed to them what I did, how I built connections with teachers, how I explained my goals to teachers. And it's interesting to see how all these kids just get these grins on their faces, how they get excited, how like when I talk to them, because at one point in the speech, I completely flipped the language from English to Spanish. I'll be like, son felices por sus raíces, tengan felicidad por la cultura donde crecieron, which I just started talking about how be grateful for the culture you have, be grateful for your heritage. Being Hispanic is not something to frown upon, and it's just so exciting to see how these students just start being excited, how they start jumping. And I think what even touched me even more was that at the very end of my presentations, I'd asked, do you have any questions? And almost all of them would raise their hands asking, where do I get started? How do I take advantage of this? Like, if I want to be a doctor, what do you recommend? Or what's a good college to go major in computer science? What's a good college? They just asked me so many questions. So that is how I know these kids are interested in a good future. They're interested in accomplishing great things, but they just don't have the resources to get there. Because most of their parents, just like mine, can't give them that support. They can't tell them, oh, go take this class if you want to do this. Oh, you should do this as a study habit. Most of them just don't know where to go. So, as of right now, my future goals is to attend Dartmouth College, hopefully go to pre-med, do the pre-med route, and continue helping these students. I've currently built some websites. Through TikTok, I've been able to make these videos where I explain the process. I see TikTok is very popular amongst teenagers, among kids. And it's interesting because one of my videos actually got around 200,000 views. And I explained, here's how you can take advantage of this opportunity. Here's how you should write a college essay. Because even myself, when I was applying to college, I was like, how do I do this? So my college was essay, like my big essay was, I wrote about my life through the perspective of a cockroach. And this was, the reason I wrote that was because when many people think of cockroaches, they think of disgust, they think of nasty. My first sentence in that essay was, the cockroach, the most beautiful insect in the world, which is just a complete paradox because there's nothing attractive about cockroach, except in my essays, I put my life through that perspective and I explained how, although I'm viewed as this pest, I'm viewed as this nasty cockroach, I've been able to take all these harsh environments and I've been able to fight like a cockroach. Because if you know cockroaches, when you rip off their heads, they won't die for a month. The only reason they die is because they starve. And the main reason I put my attention towards a cockroach was because I've been raised in an apartment my whole life. And, the environment isn't that good, so there's always cockroaches around. And my mom, she's always freaking out. She cleans. She kills these cockroaches, but they keep coming back. And then I'm like, that's it. We're writing about cockroaches. So that is the support I've been giving to these students. I've been explaining, writing a college essay doesn't just have to be on everything you've accomplished. It can be anything. Like, I could grab this Germex bottle and explain how it pertains to my life if I was able to make that connection. But that's just things I've been explaining, or like what extracurriculars, what paths the kids should take. So that's just my goal for helping children in the future. And thank you guys for your time.
Thank you so much for that. And let's give him a round of applause. So, you don't realize, but you're among some TikTok royalty in this. We've got 2 TikTok stars over here. So thank you for sharing, and thank you, senators, for allowing me to do this. I sometimes think that we are in a bubble and we kind of forget like the impact of what we're doing here. So thank you very much, and please check in with us and let us know how you're doing from now on. So thank you for being here. Oh, Assemblywoman Torres wants to say something.
Oh.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I just have to say you're invited to do a TikTok with me anytime. I'm sure Mr. MacArthur would join us. We have some popular videos with over 150,000 views, so we'd be more than happy to join you doing a video while we're here the next couple of weeks. But I just want to change that narrative. Being Latino in our community is exactly who you are and what we are. Being Latino is something that we should be proud of in this country and every single day. I like to say that, everything I do and everything I have is something that a legislator has, but it's also Latino. When I eat rice and beans, I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Just as much as I'm proud to put on this suit and to come to serve the people of the state of Nevada. So continue to be proud of your culture every single day in every part of where we come from and who we are. And sometimes that might look different than what others might have, and that's okay. We're proud of it all of the time because we celebrate that journey.
Definitely.
Thank you. It looks like we have a couple more comments. Go ahead, Assemblywoman Tolson, then Flores.
Thank you so much, Chair. And I just want to say that there is nothing in a million years that would ever make me think of a cockroach. But I appreciate your creativity. And I just have to say that I was reveling in listening to you and your ability to tell stories and how articulate you are and creative and how much you made us laugh, but also thinking about not just the influence that you're having on us while you're speaking to us, but all those who are watching and listening to you and the impact that you're having in being able to tell your story and tell them that they have their own story that could be just as amazing and as much a part of the fabric of who we are in the state of Nevada, and just really proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself, and so proud of those who will be impacted by your life, because I know you're going to go on to do many, many great things.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to echo the remarks from my colleagues and just say how proud we are of you. Go out there, conquer the world, but make sure you bring all that talent back to the state after you get all that education, you see the world. We need folk like you in this state, right? And we need you to replace folk like myself in this seat. So, we're looking forward to you doing that, but we just want to make sure you go out there, conquer the world, but then come back. We're waiting for you, okay?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had a lot more things on my flashcards, but then I just pushed them aside because I feel like I just speak a lot better when I just speak because that's how I write my essays. Usually when I write my essays, I'll click the microphone button. I just speak like I'm Shakespeare. I call it the Shakespeare touch because I can only write at certain times. Usually it'll be after I'm very emotional or after I listen to a song and I just feel like Shakespeare himself is guiding my finger, and then I'll just start writing these essays. So, I'm not really of a cards person. I just like to speak out because, I was going to talk about 1 in 5 students don't have access to a counselor, which means that 1 in 5 students will not have the same opportunity as other people. But thank you.
I would think we have one more comment before we let you go. Go ahead, Assemblywoman Marzola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you for coming today and telling your story. As someone who was born in another country who also had to learn the language coming here, I understand the hard work that you've had. You represent what hard work and perseverance looks like. I am proud of you that you've never given up, and I just want you to promise that no matter how successful you get, which I know you will be, that you always tell your story. Because the more you tell your story, the more you just engage with these children and give them hope, right? And the understanding that anything is possible if you just work hard.
Yeah.
So I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for being here today.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so thank you, committee, and we are now going to go to our work session. So we will be taking the bills out of order. I believe, Senator Dennis, you wanted to go last, is that correct? That's what we did, because that's what I heard. So, okay, so we're going to do 36, 102, 151, 160, 193, 249, 2, 128, 172, 215, 352, 354, 363. Okay? And I will turn this over to Ms. Robusto.
Thank you, Chair Bill Ray Axelrod. For the record, Christy Robusto, Research Division of the Legislative Counsel Bureau. As nonpartisan staff, I'm not here to advocate for issues. I'm here to assist the members with policy issues brought forward to this committee. For your reference, all the work session documents can be found on the committee's webpage on Nellis, and they should have been distributed to the members as well. Our first bill on work session today is Senate Bill 36, sponsored by NDE and heard by this committee on April 27th. The bill provides that the school's crisis committee must include a health and parent representative on it and requires certain plans developed by the committee must be used for responding to all hazards, and that a notice of the plan's review and update must be posted on the website. Additionally, NDE needs to include a procedure for responding to an epidemic in its model plan for managing a crisis, emergency, or suicide. Finally, the bill requires that the schools designate a school safety specialist who must provide certain employees or public safety agencies with an opportunity to become familiar with the school's blueprint every 3 years. There's one proposed amendment which does the following. It revises the name of the Crisis Committee to the Emergency Operations Plan Development Committee as presented by Washoe County School District on the following page. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before we take a motion, are there any questions on Bill SB 36? Okay, then I would take a motion to amend and do pass. Who was that? Oh, Assemblywoman Torres has made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Assemblywoman Marzola. Are there any comments? Sure.
Thank you, Chair, and I just want to thank our amazing LCB staff for getting back to me with some of my questions that I raised around the membership of law enforcement and emergency management folks. in engaging in these plans, and they did assure me that that is elsewhere in another chapter, and I thank the Department of Education also for following up, so I'm happy to support. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously with everyone present. And I will assign the floor statement to Assemblywoman Tolles. Okay, next bill is Senate Bill 102. Ms. Robusto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 102, sponsored by Senator Hammond, heard by the committee on April 27th, changes from September 30th to August 7th the dates by which a child must be a certain age at the beginning of a school year in order to be admitted to certain grades. There's one proposed amendment which does the following. It changes when a child must be 5 years of age to enter kindergarten from August 7th to on or before the first day of school, and adds the chair as a primary co-sponsor to the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before we take a motion, are there any questions? Okay, I will take a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 102. I'll make a motion to amend and do pass. Thank you. Assemblywoman Krasner has made the motion. Do I have a second? Second from Assemblywoman Torres. Any comments? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate the discussion in this hearing as well as with the sponsor. I do really wrestle through this one because this would have made a major impact on our family in the way that the birth dates lined up. But I have had conversations with the sponsor. I'm going to continue to have conversations with the sponsor about even perhaps just moving the implementation date out just one more year to get families some time to prepare. But I will be a yes, and I also thank the LCB staff for helping answer my questions in regards to how this works if someone does want to move up once they're in first grade. That does give me some more comfort, so I will be a yes and continue this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from committee members? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No, we have one no, and it is Assemblyman MacArthur. So a motion does carry, and I will take that floor statement. Next, we will go to Senate Bill 151.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 151, sponsored by Senator Dondero Loop, heard by the committee on May 6th, requires the Board of Trustees in Nevada's two largest school districts to develop plans to improve the ratio between pupils and specialized instructional support personnel, including recruitment and retention strategies for such personnel and annual targets to meet the recommended ratios. The bill requires the districts to submit an annual report to NDE concerning its plan and the plan's effectiveness, as well as the NDE to submit a compiled report to those outlined. Finally, the bill requires school counselors, psychologists, and social workers to complete continuing education requirements as established by the Commission on Professional Standards in Education and the Board of Examiners for Social Workers, respectively. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before I take a motion, are there any questions on SB 151? We do have the sponsor here. I don't see any questions. I will take a motion to do pass. Assemblywoman Krasner has made the motion. Do I have a second? Second from Assemblywoman Hardy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Say nay? No? Motion passes unanimously. I will give Assemblywoman Krasner that floor statement. Okay, next is Assembly Bill 160. Ms. Robusto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 160, sponsored by Senator Keffer, heard by the committee on April 29th, authorizes a university school for profoundly gifted students to enter into a cooperative agreement to offer dual credit courses. The bill clarifies that such agreements must be made with regionally accredited high education institution located in Nevada, and that each school may enter into such an agreement with a regionally accredited higher education institution in another state if one of the Nevada institutions does not offer such a course. The agreement made with an out-of-state institution must submit a copy of the agreement to NDE. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before I take a motion, are there any questions? Seeing none, I would take a motion to do pass. Assemblywoman Krasner has made the motion. Assemblywoman Torres has seconded. Any comments? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. I will give that floor statement to Assemblywoman Hardy. Senate Bill 193, Ms. Robusto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 193, sponsored by the Legislative Committee on Senior Citizens, Veterans, and Adults with Special Needs, heard by the committee on May 6th, requires the Board of Regents to submit a report to the legislature concerning student veterans and to give preference in admission to certain veterans in each nursing program and program for the education of teachers. The bill further removes the time limitation for matriculating within the Nevada system of higher education for veterans, prohibits the assessment of tuition charges against veterans, spouses, and dependents using post-9/11 education assistance, and prohibits assessment of tuition charges using survivors and dependents' education assistance. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Busto. Before we take a motion, are there any questions? Seeing none, I would take a motion to do pass. I will take the motion from Assemblywoman Hardy and a second by Assemblywoman Torres. All in, any comments before we? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. And I believe, Assemblyman MacArthur, you're a veteran, correct? Would you take the floor statement? All right. Thank you very much. Okay, next bill we have is Senate Bill 249. Ms. Robusto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 249, sponsored by Senator Don Loop, heard by the committee on May 6th, adds behavioral health to the list of conditions that would excuse a child from attending school and allows a qualified mental health or behavioral health professional to certify that a child is not able to attend school or that their attendance is inadvisable. The bill further prohibits any health-related excused absence from negatively impacting a school's accountability rating and requires that the back of any identification card for a pupil include mental health resource information. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Do we have any questions on the bill? Okay, then I would take a motion to do pass. I'll make a motion. Assemblywoman Krasner has made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Assemblywoman Marzola has made the second. Any comments? Assemblywoman Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. I have great respect for the senator, and it pains me to be a no in committee. I'm hoping I can get some comfort before floor. But at this point, I appreciate what the intention is, but I'm just not there quite yet. So hopefully we can have some more discussions. But I appreciate, again, your work and your intent. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson. Vice Chair Miller?
Thank you, Chair. And this, my comment's actually not directed toward the bill sponsor because I understand the intention and the need for this type of legislation. It's actually directed to the school districts. And I see that we have a representative here, and I know all the school districts are generally listening. But just that as we go forward, oftentimes when we have legislation like this, when it comes to practicality, some district policies around it, so that again, because even this being said, we don't know if this will be communicated accurately to all of our staff, our counselors, and those in the school buildings that would be involved. So I just want to make sure that going forward that, that this information is disseminated properly out to our school staff. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Maybe if I can hit my mic button. I appreciate the senator for this piece of legislation. I just don't know where I'm at with it. And so for that reason, I'll go ahead and be a yes in committee, and I reserve my right for the floor, but I would like to speak to the bill sponsor before that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Assemblywoman Gorlow, are you raising your hand? Okay, no. Okay, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Was that, raise your hand, was that just, okay, so the motion passes with Assemblywoman Hanson as a no. And I will assign the floor statement to Assemblywoman Duran. Next, we have SB2, Ms. Robusto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 2, sponsored by Clark County School District, heard by the committee on May 4th, requires the school district and charter schools to assess the reading proficiency of a pupil during each elementary school grade level as necessary. The bill allows NDE to prescribe regulations for assessing the development of a pupil enrolled in kindergarten, and finally revises the height and weight measurement requirements for certain pupils in certain grades. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before I take a motion, do we have any questions on SB2? Assemblyman MacArthur.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, taking the height and weight of students, what are we doing with that information? Why are we doing it?
Assemblyman MacArthur, we did go over this in the hearing,
Yes.
but we're, okay, would you like to come up? I think we had several people come and talk about it. I know we had Southern Nevada Health District. I know DHHS uses it for grants, but if you want to say anything else.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brad Keating for the record, representing Clark County School District. To the Assemblyman's question, that what Madam Chair said is exactly correct. The Southern Nevada Health District, the Washoe County Health District, and the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services uses that information to go out and apply for grants related to childhood obesity and different family type grants.
Okay, so it is just for grants then. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I'm wondering if your concern might be that HIPAA violations or anything, that it's all completely aggregated, and so it's done, it's not connected with any student. So have that clarified. Any other questions on the bill? Okay. So I will take a motion to do pass Senate Bill 2. Oh, you have a question or a comment?
I asked both, but now it's a question, yeah.
Hold that motion. Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Chair. And I believe this question maybe needs to be directed to the department, if we have anyone from the Department of Education on. They're on Zoom? Okay. We can't see right now, so can we hear? Broadcasting?
There's 10 people on.
Can they hear us?
Either Ms. McGill or Ms. Gonzalez, if you can turn your camera on. I don't know, maybe both of you. Do you want to ask the question?
Okay. Hi, Ms. McGill. So my question is in regarding with the passage of this bill, referring to the part, and I know we had a robust discussion and questions about the testing for kindergarten students. And so we got the response today, and it does state, that standardized testing is required from the federal government in just grades 3 through 8 and once in high school. But it also, when it comes to kindergarten specifically, we already, per the state, are required to test them within their first 30 days. But then with this bill, it would also say that then we would instead require that the department to adopt regulations, again, to assess development of early learning loss within the first 45 days. So my question is that opening the door for additional assessments and tests on the kindergarten students? And especially in addition to what's already happening?
Hi, this is Patty Oya from the Nevada Department of Education, for the record, Office of Early Learning and Development. What we're requesting is that it's a screening that takes about 15 minutes when children enter kindergarten. This has been done previously as part of the Read by Grade 3 bill, but that was removed from that bill, and we continue to screen. And it's a best practice because we know kindergartners come in from different types of early childhood programs. And so this really truly is for the teachers to figure out where children are at as they're entering the school system, possibly for the first time or coming in from pre-K. And so then they can, if necessary, start to look at, are there delays that need to be referred to Child Find? And or is it something that's just a red flag that they need to maybe keep an eye on, intensify? And so it's so that instruction can be individualized for children as they enter kindergarten. And as you know, when children enter kindergarten, they can be really across the spectrum of the development and how used to they are to public school. So it really does help the families and teachers kind of understand. We as a department collect this information as part of a longitudinal study that starts in early childhood programs all the way from the child care subsidy program. And we use the same screener all the way across. It could be as early as birth, just to see how children are doing and to see the types of programs that they are in, but not to specifically track a child.
Follow up? Okay, so with that, you mentioned some things that bring additional concern to me. Is the test, then when you talk about whether or not we need to refer someone to Child Find, is the test to measure their academic learning loss, or is it to measure some type of behavioral, social, home situations that's going on? And if you...
It is a little... I'm sorry.
Please proceed.
This is Patty Oya for the record. It is a screener, so it is a developmental screener that covers five domains across different domains: motor, language, social, emotional, cognitive. But it is a screener. So best practice would be if the child fell below typical scoring for their age group, then we would refer to an assessment or Child Find, depending on those results and the family history and those kind of things. But it's a screener. And so we just want to know if children are following in a typical period of development or above average or below. And it just triggers that for a teacher to say, this is something that a 5-year-old should know. Maybe we should keep an eye on it, or maybe we should assess more, or maybe we should get some additional help. And so, and hopefully we would do this all through childcare, pre-K programs. That would be best practice. And it is required as part of Read by Grade 3.
Chair, Vice Chair, I'm going to move on. And nice to see you, Ms. Oya. We go back a long time with early childhood, both in our blood, I think. So thank you for clarifying that information. And I know the earlier that we can decipher these issues, whether it be in preschool or before preschool or, in kindergarten, the better for the outcome of the child. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will go back to taking a motion to do pass. Do we have a motion? Assemblywoman Nguyen makes the motion to do pass. Do I have a second? Second is Assemblywoman Marzola. Any comments? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment, this is something I've said on the record multiple times during interim, during past sessions, and again, in the response that we received from NDE about that it takes approximately 15 minutes to administer. This is another huge problem that we're having in education because we have the testing companies telling us how long it's taking to administer a test. And it's not including everything that it takes, especially when these tests are done with technology, everything that it takes and encompasses in a classroom for a teacher to get all of the students, whether it's 30, 40, or 50 students on technology, making sure that it all works correctly, and getting everyone through it. And of course, here we're talking about 5-year-olds. As someone who's worked in the elementary school and trained there's times these kids come in, they've never even held a pencil or a crayon. And so being in a building where these tests were going on, again, I think it's really misrepresenting the work that's happening. And I think that we need to know that a test that when we say it takes 15 minutes to administer, that's not at all accurate, and that we need to be listening to our classroom teachers and our principals that are charged with having to make sure this gets through. I know there's tests that everyone will say in every data, and it reports that it takes 60 minutes. And yet, typically it takes my students, my class, 4 days to do, which equals in a block schedule 6 to 8 hours. And this isn't anything that's You know, I was at a 5-star school, so I'm telling you, if the prescription says 60 minutes and the teachers are telling you the reality is 6 to 8 hours, my concern about does this, well, I know because I've been in elementary school, it doesn't take 15 minutes. And I just think that it's time that we really start looking at what we're putting our 5-year-olds through and what we're putting all of our students through with the excessive testing.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I will say that I respect, obviously you're in the classroom, but I know from my years of working with family, which is 0 to 5, that those assessments are not done something on, I mean, it's a pretty easy assessment for a 5-year-old. And it's so very important to get those early intervention if you want to have the outcomes that we want to have. So that being said, I'll go ahead. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. We have Assemblyman MacArthur as a nay. Anyone else? Okay. Motion passes with everyone except Assemblyman MacArthur. So you don't get the floor statement. I will give the floor statement to Assemblyman Nguyen. Next bill we have, Senate Bill 128. Mr. Busto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 128, sponsored by Senator Dennis, heard by the committee on April 29th, requires the state treasurer to contract with one or more qualified independent consultants to conduct a study concerning the effectiveness of publicly funded scholarship and grant programs in Nevada, and outlines what the study must include, including student outcomes for scholarship and grant recipients and an evaluation of the financial viability of these programs. A report of the findings must be submitted to the Legislative Committee on Education, which must also be charged with administering publicly funded reviewing the report and consulting with persons and entities charged with administering publicly funded scholarships and grant programs. Finally, SB 128 provides that the cost of carrying out the study must be paid from the endowment account created by the state treasurer. There are no amendments to this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. And before we take a motion, are there any questions on SB 128? I'm not seeing any, so I will take a motion to do pass. Assemblywoman Krasner has made the motion, and who was the second? Was Assemblywoman Tolles. Any comments? Seeing. Did you have
Thank
a
you,
comment?
Chair. I just want to say it's been an honor to co-sponsor this with the sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Okay, and with that, we'll say all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. And motion passes unanimously. Assemblywoman Tolles, would you take that floor statement? Next, we have Assembly Bill 172. Ms. Robusto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 172, sponsored by Senator Dennis, heard by the committee on May 11th, removes the enrollment application process and prerequisite requirements for a student to participate in a dual credit course. The bill removes provisions relating to cooperative agreements to offer dual credit courses and instead requires the school districts and charter schools establish a dual credit program or partner with an established program where a student may enroll in such a course at a higher education institution. Additionally, the bill requires that courses must provide a uniform grading scale must be provided for dual credit and international baccalaureate classes, and the same weight to such courses as assigned to the advanced placement courses in certain circumstances. Finally, the bill requires certain reports and outlines that the contents must be provided as well. There are no amendments to this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before we take a motion, are there any questions on SB 172? Okay, seeing none, I would take a motion to do pass. Assemblywoman Krasner has made the motion. Do I have a second? Second from Assemblywoman Torres. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Assemblywoman MacArthur, would you like the floor statement? Fine. Would you rather me give it to someone else? All right. Thank you. See? You know, it's the little things in life that bring me joy. Okay, next bill, we have Senate Bill 215.
Senate Bill 215, sponsored by Senator Dennis, heard by the committee on April 29th, requires the Board of Trustees and the charter schools and the University School for Profoundly Gifted develop, present, and present plans for distance education and to share those plans with the school community, families, and school employees. The entities must also develop and implement a plan to make the necessary technology available for certain pupils and school employees. Further, the bill defines distance education and distance education eligibility and allows students who demonstrate proficiency in distance ed courses to complete the course in a shorter time than normally allowed. The bill removes certain limitations on instruction programs based on the alternative schedule. There is one amendment proposed by NDE, which does the following. Revises Section 3.5, subsection 1, so that students may attend full-time programs of distance education in their district of residence that are sponsored by a school district or charter school. And 2, restores language in Section 3.5, subsection 2, excluding private school and homeschool pupils from being eligible to enroll in such a distance education program. The conceptual amendment is provided on the next page for the committee's review. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before we take a motion, are there questions on SB 215? Seeing no questions, I would take a motion to amend and do pass. Assemblywoman Torres has made the motion. Do I have a second? Second from Assemblywoman Nguyen. Any comments? Assemblywoman Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank the Senator for working with some that were a little concerned and taking their amendment, and we appreciate that, and I'm glad to support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries with the exception of Assemblyman MacArthur, who was the lone nay. I will give Assemblywoman Hanson that floor statement. Next, we have Senate Bill 352. Ms. Robusto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 352, sponsored by the Senate Committee on Education, heard by this committee on May 4th, requires the Commission of Professional Standards in Education to adopt regulations to authorize a currently employed paraprofessional who is enrolled in a program to become a teacher to complete an accelerated student teaching program in the same or similar area in which the person is currently employed. The Commission must also adopt regulations that require NDE to accept student teaching experience completed outside of Nevada if the experience substantially fulfills Nevada's requirements. There is one proposed amendment submitted by Senator Dennis, which does the following. Authorizes a person who is currently employed by a public school to provide support or other services relating to school psychology without a license or endorsement to complete a program of internship in psychology to obtain such license or endorsement while remaining employed. The proposed amendment is provided on the next page for the committee's review. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. It looks like we might have a question. No? Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, then I would take a motion to amend and do pass. Assemblywoman Marzola has made the motion, and Assemblywoman Hardy has made the second. Do we have any comments? Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Chair. I just in conversations, because I do still have a lot of questions with this bill, and a lot of it goes around the concern during the bill presentation, and so this is really more for the Department of Ed, about the fact that the regulations aren't yet developed around this, and that yet the language is permissive for people to begin this process without having those parameters in place. So I did discuss that with the department yesterday, but I just saw that the district physically walked out, but I'm sure there's other people listening and watching. So for those from the districts that are listening and watching, and of course from the department, again, it's just my urgency to make sure that there are these policies in place and parameters and structure and requirements around this. Because I know even one thing that was brought up yesterday is that, this applies to support staff that are currently working in certain positions. For instance, a classroom aide, not someone who's working in an office or working, in a number of our support positions, but may not be, directly related and integrated into that classroom experience. So again, I always have pause when we don't have those regulations in place first. So, but I will continue my discussions with the department and the districts on moving forward.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments? Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo my colleagues' sentiments. I truly appreciate the intent of this bill to get more teachers in the classroom, but at what cost? There's a quantity versus a quality of teacher. And I want to make sure that in those regs, we know that the people that are going to be going into the classroom are very well prepared and they know what they're getting themselves into so that they don't quit 2 or 3 years later. Being an aide is a very different position than being a teacher. And I think we need to respect that those who have teaching licenses and have gone through their student teaching, they know what they're getting into, they've been properly trained, and I'm just not quite there yet on this. I will be a yes to get it out of committee, but I do want to continue the conversations to make sure that we're not just plugging holes and putting people in the classroom, but making sure we have quality teachers that are going into the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Gorlow. There's some confusion going on over in the one side of our committee room. Assemblywoman Torres, did you have a question on the bill that we are hearing, that we're working on right now? You want to just TikTok it or something, or you good? All right, you're good. Okay. Any other comments on Bill 352 that we are currently on right now? Okay. Thank you, Assemblywoman. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And I think that Assemblywoman Torres is getting that one. Okay. Next bill, we have Senate Bill 354. Ms. Robusto.
Senate Bill 354, sponsored by Senate Committee on Education, heard by this committee on May 11th, requires NDE to develop a statewide framework for restorative justice and requires that plans and policies developed must align with the statewide framework developed by NDE. The bill requires 1, a plan of action based on restorative justice to be provided before the suspension or removal of a student may occur. 2, a school to offer certain services to a pupil who is temporarily removed from school. And 3, a school to recognize students who are homeless, in foster care, or unaccompanied when considering disciplinary action. Further, a pupil may not be expelled or suspended from school unless it has been determined that the behavior of the pupil was not caused by homelessness or being in foster care. NDE must include certain data in their system of accountability reporting, recognizing public schools that reduce the frequency of suspension, expulsion, and removal of students. There is one amendment proposed by Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod, which does the following. Revises language regarding the determination of pupils' behavior being caused by homelessness. The conceptual amendment is presented on the next page for the committee's review. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before we take a motion, are there any questions on Senate Bill 354? Assemblywoman Torres. No, you have a comment, not a question. You're good now. Okay. Boy. Any other questions? Any questions? No? Okay. With that, I would take a motion to amend and do pass. Assemblywoman Nguyen has made the motion. Assemblywoman Torres has made the second. Do we have any comments? Comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be a yes to get this out of committee, but reserve my right to change prior to floor. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. I know we have the conceptual amendment here, so I just want to see the actual amendment from LCB. So I'll be a yes out of committee and reserve my right. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you. I think I'm on the right bill. Is this SB 354?
That's the one.
Thank you, Chair.
54.
I appreciate the clarification. And I just want to say that I really appreciate the amendment, and that confirms I will be supporting SB 354. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other comments? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. We have one nay. Guess who? Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblyman MacArthur is the nay. Motion carries. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblyman Flores. All right. And finally, last but not least, Senate Bill, 363. Ms. Robusto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 363, sponsored by the Legislative Committee on Education, heard by this committee on May 4th, requires each of the governing bodies of a charter school that have a contract with an EMO to report the amount paid to the respective management organization to the sponsor of the charter school. Additionally, this information must be submitted in a report to the legislature, and these reports must be submitted by November 1st on each even-numbered year. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Ms. Robusto. Before we take a motion, are there any questions on SB 363? Okay, seeing none, I would take a motion to do pass. Assemblywoman Nguyen has made the motion, Assemblywoman Marzola has made the second. Any comments? Seeing no comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. And I think the only person who hasn't got a floor statement is Assemblywoman Gorlow. Is that correct? So you get this one. All right. Wonderful. We did it. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right. So I will close the work session on the agenda and we'll move to our final thing, which is public comment. You guys know the drill for public comment. Is there anyone in the room who would like to offer public comment? There you go. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair and Assembly committee members. My name is Brian Rippett, B-R-I-A-N-R-I-P-P-E-T. I'm a chemistry and physics teacher in Douglas County and serving as the president of the Nevada State Education Association. I'm here just to highlight a couple of the challenges we continue to see with education and also including the people-centered, the new funding bill. While sitting here in the work session, I have a new number one. I want to tag on with Assemblywoman Miller's questions about assessment of kindergartners. I firmly believe that we do not need any more data. What we need is more time to explore and more time to teach. Now, if we think about that 15 minutes to do a screener, I would imagine that a screener must be done in a one-on-one fashion. So when one student and one teacher are being screened, what are the other 24 kids doing? And at 15 minutes a pop, that's an entire day of screening. The professionals in the classroom essentially know what is going to be told on these tests, and just be careful about mandating new ones and new data, because that information is probably there from somewhere else or could be gleaned from what we already do. Just a couple other things. The people-centered funding plan and the implementation, as you know, has a hold harmless provision that does not include increases for the cost of doing business, and so we hope that we can get a fix on that. We will have continued giant class sizes and caseloads, which will make it difficult for educators to help students like Christian that was here earlier to find their voice and tell their story if we don't get a handle on the amount of time. And if we keep taking time via assessment, we won't have time to teach and reach. We're hoping that we can get a return of class size reduction funding, so once again we can decrease the ratio and increase the amount of time that educators are with individual students. I thank you for your time, and so.
Thank you for your testimony. I see Mr. Daly, you are approaching. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Daly, also from the Nevada State Education Association. I think most of you probably know that on Saturday morning, the K-12 education budget will be deliberated by the money committees. I know only a few of you serve both here on education and on Ways, but after all of your education policy discussions this session, I know that each of you appreciate the significant intersection between education policy and education funding. K-12 public education has been woefully underfunded for decades, ranking 48th, among the states in per pupil funding. Nevada also has the largest student-to-teacher ratio in the country. A $156 million cut to class size reduction over the next biennium would mean a loss of about 1,000 teachers across the state, meaning even more students packed into Nevada classrooms. This committee has contemplated the impact of overcrowded classrooms on students and teachers alike, and you know smaller class size has real benefits. For students, smaller class size can help close the racial achievement gap, lead to earlier identification of learning disabilities, improve high school graduation rates and student behavior, and allow for more engagement in lessons. For educators, smaller class size allows for more individual and differentiated instruction, less time on paperwork, more time for parental engagement, and stronger classroom management as teachers become more aware of individual students' strengths and weaknesses. Earlier this session, in this room, I believe, you received a presentation from Data Insight Partners that showed for the first time ever Nevada fourth graders are performing at the same level as their national peers, and only 3 states made more progress than Nevada in fourth grade reading achievement over the last decade. And you know that this growth was tied to strategic investment made by Nevada through the Read by Grade 3 program, which is facing a $33 million cut next biennium, as well as investments in Zoom and Victory schools that are facing their own budget cuts as these programs are projected to be assimilated in the new funding formula. Simply put, education policy and all the efforts of this committee since the interim are subject to the budget decisions made in other hearing rooms. As the Assembly's resident experts in education, I would ask each of you to be advocates and lobbyists on behalf of public schools over the next 2 weeks. Please engage your colleagues on ways, or if you find yourself downstairs in finance, in the hallways and caucus rooms, on the importance of education funding and the interconnectedness of the work you've done here and the work that's happening on the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Anyone else in the room? Okay. I don't believe we have anyone on the Zoom. So BPS, are there any callers who wish to make public comment?
To participate in public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 157, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Susan Kaiser, Kaiser, and I'm asking for your support to really fix SB 543. Recently, while helping a family member pack up a house to move, we wanted to make coffee, but had already packed the right filter for the pot. First, I tried to alter a drip coffee filter to fit the cone. Then I tried folding a paper towel to approximate the needed filter. In the first attempt, the coffee looked like tea. In the second attempt, it produced coffee that, of a better quality, but the grounds had escaped into the carafe, making it undrinkable. The end result was that the coffee produced was substandard, not because of the lack of my effort or my motivation, but because I lacked the tools to accomplish this task. This situation is not unlike the one educators find themselves in every day as they try to provide meaningful learning experiences for their students. They lack the tools to do their best work, and sometimes the end result of those efforts comes up short. When teachers are provided the resources they need, their students' performance improves, reflecting that investment. Zoom and Victory schools are an example of what can be achieved with a greater infusion of funding for our kids. Zoom and Victory schools should continue into the future while additional funding is generated to bring other schools up to the funding level of the Zoom and Victory schools. One lesson learned during the pandemic is that the critical value of our public schools to our state economy. Public schools educate the next generation, but they also literally provide an enriching, safe environment for children of all ages to grow and learn while their parents are at work. Companies are enticed to relocate to Nevada with a variety of tax incentives and abatements, yet upon closer examination, they may reconsider when they learn that not all that glitters in Nevada is made of gold. In fact, Nevada is near the bottom of the per pupil funding list, ranking 48, and has the additional distinction of the highest class sizes in the nation. You don't have to take my word for it. Quoting Mike Kazmersky, president and CEO of EDON, quote, Nevada's funding for education and our public education rankings have already discouraged new companies from investing in our state and are putting our kids at a distinct disadvantage in the new economy. Now more than ever, in the waning shadow of the coronavirus pandemic, every Nevadan needs the tools provided by an education. To start, I urge you to really fix SB 543. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. BPS, are there any other callers on the line for public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no more callers wishing to participate.
Thank you. And with that, I will close public comment. So committee, we are going to adjourn, and then we have a possible meeting at the call of the chair tomorrow, just in case anything comes up. I don't anticipate it, but we've all been in this building long enough to know that we just need to cover our bases. So, one second. So we will call the chair, so just have your attaches paying attention to that. And then if we don't meet tomorrow, then we will meet on Tuesday. And Assemblywoman Tolles.
We're going to meet on Tuesday.
What? Oh, we don't know if we're going to meet on Tuesday.
Okay. So
Okay.
we may still have more meetings in this committee.
Well,
in here.
Oh yeah, we still there's still
Okay.
we're not done.
Okay.
we still have there. I think there's 12 bills in Senate.
Yeah,
Finance,
I just wanted some. Okay, I just wanted some.
We're not done. What are you going home? What are you going on vacay?
I was just about to say like a really emotional speech, but I'm
No,
just gonna.
we'll be back.
No.
We'll be back.
No,
And,
I wanted to clarify what our schedule
No,
was.
we'll,
Thank you.
we'll still be back. So yeah, just have your attaches watching to see if we call tomorrow, and then I know we haven't done our picture yet, but I'm kind of hangry because I haven't eaten yet, so we'll push it off to next week or whatever. Okay, so that's it. Thank you, everyone, and this meeting is adjourned.